Hello everyone, and welcome. I'm Jordan at Afterburner Automation, and today we're going to be walking through the first of the Automation 360 package courses, where we'll go into detail on the prompt package. By the end of this course, you should be able to use each of the actions found in the prompt package and understand the various scenarios where you might use them. Let's start by talking about the prompt package and how it's intended to be used. The prompt package is meant to prompt or ask the user for some type of input that can be used in the bot. This package has 4 separate types of input that it asks for: any value, yes or no, a file, or a folder. Depending on what you want from the user, these 4 types cover most things you would need to get from any user, and any others can be captured with the interactive forms package, which we'll start learning in the advanced developer track. A quick warning before we get started. Because the actions in this package depend on user input, these commands are really only suitable for attended bots, or in other words, bots that are being watched by a human being. When these prompt actions execute at runtime, they display a custom message box on the screen that will stay there until a user provides the input that it needs. That means that any bot using these commands can't complete without some type of user intervention, so keep that in mind when using these as a solution. We'll start by logging into the control room. Then, navigate to the RPA workspace by clicking on Automation on the left sidebar. Now that we're in the Automation section of the control room, let's navigate to the Citizen Developer folder that we built in the last course. Once we're inside that folder, I'm going to hover over the Citizen Developer folder name in the folders tree to the left, then click on the Create subfolder icon that appears to the right. The Create folder window will pop up, and then we can go ahead and name this folder Prompt 101 so that we have a good place to store the bots we're going to be building for this course. We'll then look at the path below to make sure this folder will wind up in the Citizen Developer folder, and then click Create Folder. You should now be inside of the Prompt 101 folder, which we can verify by noting that it's highlighted in the folder's sidebar, and we're ready to start learning these prompt commands. Let's start with the prompt for value action. In the previous course, Getting Started Building Bots, we used the prompt package in order to ask the user their name and then print it to the screen with a message box. In that case, we used the for value action, which gives the user the option to type any value into the prompt. That value then gets stored in a variable that we can use throughout our bot, like we did by printing hello and then the name to the screen. This prompt for value action is the most flexible of the options in this package because unlike the other 3, the user can type almost anything they want into the prompt. That means we can use this command for a lot of different scenarios, but it also means that we can get different things than what we might expect. So we have to be very careful to provide a clear prompt and validate the data the user sends us before we do anything with it. Anyway, let's get a new bot started by clicking the New Bot icon on the speed bar at the top right. We'll be building a small bot that asks for a user's password by using the prompt for value action. So in order to keep with our naming convention, we'll name this one CD02-prompt for value. And then click Create and Edit so that we're in the RPA workspace. Remember that I like list view, so I'm going to click on that now. From here, we can either search for or scroll down to the prompt package in the Actions sidebar on the left. Click the caret next to the prompt package to reveal the different actions, and then let's drag the for value action into the main workspace. The prompt for value options appear in the right sidebar, and we can start filling these out. The prompt window caption is the name of the window that will appear for the user, kind of like how the File Explorer window has File Explorer printed out on the top bar of the window. We want the user to know who's asking for their password, so for the prompt window caption, let's put our bot name, CD02-prompt for value. The prompt message is the message that we use to communicate to the user what we want them to type into the prompt field, so it's important to be very clear with your language here to ensure the user doesn't get confused. Since we want the user to type their password, let's put "Please enter your password" so that the user knows what we expect from them. Just below the prompt message field is a checkbox that says Mask Keystroke. If you click on this checkbox, then it will mask what the user types into the prompt by showing asterisks instead of the actual keys the user typed. This is the perfect option for us since we're asking for a password, which is sensitive information. Let's make sure that box is checked and provide a little security for our users. Finally, we need to assign that value to a variable. This takes what the user types and stores it in a variable we can use with most other commands. Since we already have some default variables, let's open up that drop-down menu and select Sample String if we're using Community Edition, or Prompt Assignment if you're using Enterprise Edition. Now we just need a way to make sure that it worked, so let's go back to the Actions sidebar and search or scroll for the message box package. Then, drag that message box command just underneath the prompt for value command. We need it to print our variable, so after we click inside the Enter Message to Display field, we could click on the X in parentheses or press F2 here to bring up our menu of variables. From there, we select the variable we used in our prompt command, which is sample string for me. Now we're all set to see if our bot worked, so let's click Save and then Run at the top and see what happens. After the bot deploys, you'll see our prompt appear on the screen. We should see that the window caption is CD02-prompt for value, and the message asks us to please enter your password. Now, I'm not going to use a real password here, but I'm going to type password into the prompt. Notice that because we selected the mask keystroke option, you see asterisks where we typed instead of letters. Then press OK. The message box will pop up and show us what we typed in the prompt, and in my case, that's password. Notice that it's not masked in the message box. That's because the mask keystroke option only works for the prompt for value command it was selected in. There are other ways to store passwords in a masked state by using credential variables, but I'll be going over that in the Junior Developer Learning track. For now, I want to show you that this command doesn't fully secure something that's masked, so don't assume that your data is secure just because a command has a masking option. When you're ready, click Close on the message box, then close the success message. And then click Close on the top right-hand side of the screen to return to the control room. Now let's talk about the prompt for yes/no action. This prompt command is intended to ask the user a yes or no question and then provide the option to select either yes or no. This is much simpler than the prompt for value command because there are only two answers you can get to your prompt. This limits what kind of questions we can ask the user, but it also limits the input data we can get back from the user, and that makes it a lot less likely that you'll get something unexpected back. We're going to build another new bot here, but instead of clicking Create New or the Create a Bot icon, I'm going to show you another feature we can use to make this a little easier. You should see the CD02-prompt for value bot in the Files and Folders section in the middle of the screen, and we're going to roll over to the three dots on the far right. A little menu should expand out of those three dots with some more options we can use, like Delete, Copy, View, Analyze, and Run. If you're using Enterprise Edition, it's possible that you don't have these options due to your security permissions, or if you're in the Public tab instead of the Private tab of your control room. If so, go ahead and just build a new bot, but for the rest of you, let's select the Copy option to copy our CD02 bot. The Copy TaskBot window will appear, and you'll notice it looks a lot like the Create TaskBot window, but without the description field. I'm going to rename this bot to CD03-prompt for yes/no. Then we'll verify that we're still in the Prompt 101 folder before I click Copy. This won't take us straight to the workspace, but you'll see our new bot here in the Files and Folders, and you can click on that to open it up. You'll see our two commands from earlier that are already set up, and that will make our second prompt bot a little bit easier because we still have to set up our prompt for yes/no command, but we won't have to set up the message box. This time, we're going to have our bot ask the user if they're enjoying the Prompt 101 course and print the answer to the screen. Let's go to the Actions sidebar and search or scroll for the prompt package. But this time, let's drag the prompt for yes/no command and hold it right in between our old prompt for value command and the message box command. We can then click on the prompt for value command above and press the delete key on the keyboard to get rid of that old command. You'll notice that the next command, our prompt for yes/no command, is automatically highlighted after deleting that command. This command has the same options as prompt for value with the exception of the mask keystrokes option. Since the user won't be typing anything this time, there's nothing to mask, so let's fill in the other options. Just like before, we'll set our bot name CD03-prompt for yes/no as the prompt window caption. For our prompt message, let's ask, "Are you enjoying the Prompt 101 course?" And then finally, we'll assign the value to the same variable we used last time, either sample string or prompt assignment. Since our message box is already set up to print the contents of our variable, let's just click Run. You'll notice again that this automatically saves our bot while it gets ready to run. After the bot deploys, our prompt window will appear, with CD03-prompt for yes/no as the window caption, and "Are you enjoying the Prompt 101 course?" as our message to the user. However, instead of a field to type in, this time we see two radio buttons, one for yes and one for no. Let's go ahead and select one of these. I'm going to select yes since I wrote this course, but don't feel like you have to lie if you aren't enjoying it. Then we'll press OK. Our message box will pop up with our selection, showing either yes or no. Make a note here that the first letter is capitalized when you use this command. This matters later on if you're checking these values, because most checks in A360 are case sensitive. Anyway, once you're ready, go ahead and click Close on the message box to end the bot. Close the success window too, and then press Close on the top right to get back to the control room. The next prompt action I want to show you is the prompt for folder action. This action prompts the user to select a folder from their computer and then stores the full path to that folder in the variable. For those of you that don't know, when I say full path, I mean it's going to show the complete folder address of the selected folder, like C drive/users/example. This can be a really useful command if you have a bot that does something to all of the files in a certain folder, but you need to select which folder at runtime. Let's take a look by starting a new bot. Again, let's copy our previous bot by rolling over the three dots on the right-hand side of the Files and Folders section and selecting the Copy TaskBot icon. Let's name this bot CD04-prompt for folder. And then click Copy. Now that we've copied this bot, let's open it up and get started. For this bot, let's pretend we're going to be uploading all of the files in a folder to SharePoint. To do that, we need to know what folder we're using. So let's head over to our Actions section and find the Prompt for Folder action. Drag that action in between our Prompt for Yes/No and Message Box commands. Once that's in place, let's delete our Prompt for Yes/No command, but instead of clicking it and pressing delete, let's instead click on the three dots on the far right of that command. This is another way to view the options that you have with each line of code, like copy, paste, delete, and so on. For now, let's just click the delete action to remove this old line of code. The Prompt for Folder command has the same options as Prompt for Yes/No, so let's go ahead and fill out the window caption with our bot name, CD04-prompt for folder. As for the prompt message, since we need the user to select a folder that has files to upload to SharePoint, let's put, "Please select the folder that contains the files to upload to SharePoint." Finally, we can assign the value to the same variable as with the other commands, either sample string or prompt assignment. Our message box is still set up to show us what's in that variable, so let's click Run and see how this looks. Once the bot starts running, we'll get a new prompt window that looks a little different from before. It'll have our bot name as the window caption and our prompt message just below that, and then you'll see a select folder area that looks a lot like something you might see if you were trying to open a file with Windows. We can click the Browse button and A360 will display our computer's folder structure, just like if we were using File Explorer in Windows. Feel free to navigate around for a bit, then find a folder that you'd like to use. I'm going to select the desktop folder for now, and so just press Open. That brings us back to the prompt window, where you'll see that our selected folder is now in the field next to the Browse button. Before we move on, go ahead and click on that field and start typing. You'll notice that we're actually able to type whatever we want into this field, which means that anyone else could also type in here, and that'll be what gets stored in our variable. That means we need to be careful when we use this command, because a user could accidentally type anything in this field, and it may not wind up being the actual folder they meant to select. Anyway, when we click on OK, the message box pops up and shows us the folder path we selected. Be sure to note that it doesn't include a backslash after the folder we selected. This can be important if you're planning to use this variable with different file names in the folder, as we'll see in the Junior Developer Learning track. Once you're ready, go ahead and click Close on the message box and close the bot to return to the control room. The last prompt action is prompt for file, and while this action is very similar to the prompt for folder action, there's a slight difference here. The user will still be using a File Explorer type interface to select the files they need, but this time they can select more than one file from the same folder if they want to. The prompt for file action then stores all of the selections in a new type of variable called a list variable. We'll go over list variables in much more detail in the Junior Developer Learning track, but for now, just know that these variables hold multiple items in order, which is perfect for holding multiple file paths. Let's get a new bot started by copying cd04-prompt for folder from the three-dot menu to the right, and then renaming our copy as cd05-prompt for file. For this bot, let's keep with our SharePoint upload example, but instead of selecting a whole folder, let's pretend we just want to select certain files to upload to SharePoint. Go ahead and click Copy, then click on the bot name to open the RPA workspace. If you get a message that looks like this, that says File Not Found, usually that's just an error with the cloud servers taking too long to update, so press Try Again. Now that we're in the workspace, go ahead and click on the Prompt for Folder command on line 1 so that I can show you another way to add commands. Up to this point, we've been dragging and dropping the commands we need, but we can also add commands by double-clicking them in the Actions sidebar. Let's search or scroll down the Actions sidebar to the Prompt package, and then open it up by clicking on the caret. Then, double-click on the Prompt for File command. You'll notice that it inserts the command right after the line of code that we had highlighted. If we didn't have anything highlighted, then the command would have gone to the end of the bot as the last line of code. But now that we have this command ready, let's delete the prompt for folder command on line 1 and then start entering the details into our new prompt for file command. We can put the bot name as the window caption again, cd05-prompt for file. And for our prompt message, let's put please select the files to upload to SharePoint. For the S in files, let's put that in parentheses so that the user knows they can select one or multiple files. We'll again go to the Assign the Value to a Variable dropdown, but when we click on it, we'll see that it's empty. We know that this bot has variables, so why didn't any of them show up here? The reason for that is that this action needs a different type of variable from the ones we've been using. Up until now, all of our prompt commands have been storing the value in a variable type called a string, which is a text type of variable. We were able to use that type before because we'd been asking the user for one thing: a value, a yes or no, or a folder. Since now we're able to ask for multiple files with the prompt for file command, we need a way to store them all in the same variable while keeping them separate. That's where the list variable comes in. The list variable is basically multiple string variables, all stored within a single variable. Again, the concepts behind these different variable types will be explored in much more detail in the Junior Developer Learning track, but for now, let's just figure out how to get our prompt for file values into a variable. Since there's nothing in the dropdown, we'll need to quickly create a variable to use. For that, we can move over to the right of the dropdown where you'll see an X in parentheses with a plus sign. This is the Create Variable icon, and if we click on it, it'll automatically open up the Create Variable window. You'll see that the top row already has the type and subtype selected for us, since this command needs a list of strings. You can ignore all of the options on here for now, and instead just give this variable a name. I'm going to call mine File List, so that I know what it's for. You'll also notice that it says invalid characters used, and that's because I put a space in here, and we're not allowed to do that. So let's remove that space and just type list. Then we can click Create and Select. So now we have our value stored in a list, but how do we check it with our message box? Lists can't be displayed in a message box all at once without some help, so how do we look at everything in the list at once? Without going into too much detail, we're going to take all of the items in the list and join them together into a single string variable that can be printed in our message box. To do that, go over to the Actions sidebar and search or scroll for the list package. Then click on the caret and drag the Join Items command in between our prompt for file and message box commands. This command will take every item in the list and join them all together into a single string, separated by a delimiter that we can give it. A delimiter is just a character or some text that we can use to tell where each item in our list starts and ends. You'll see that the delimiter is already filled in with a comma, but let's replace that with the word delimiter in all caps. That'll make it a little easier for us to see the results later. Let's go up to the first option and select our new list variable from the dropdown. And then assign the output to our sample string or prompt assignment variable using the dropdown at the bottom. This will put all of our joined list items into the variable we're using in our message box on line 3. So now that we're all set up, let's run the bot and see how it goes. Once the bot spins up, we'll get our prompt, which looks almost exactly like the prompt for folder window, except it says select file instead of select folder. Click Browse, and then select one of the files on your machine. But before you press Open, let's select a couple more to show off the multiple select functionality of this command. With one file already selected, go ahead and hold down your Control key and then select one or two more. Notice how you can see multiple file names surrounded by quotes in the file name field. Again, you're only able to do this within the same folder, but once you have a couple files selected, click on Open, and then click OK on the prompt window. Our message box shows up, and you can see here that we have two file paths separated by delimiter in all caps, which was the delimiter we used to join our list items together. When you're ready, go ahead and close the message box and the success window and the RPA workspace to get back to the control room. And that's it. Now you know all the details of the prompt package. How to use prompt for value, prompt for yes, no, prompt for folder, and prompt for file. You probably have some ideas for how you can use this package to ask yourself or other users all kinds of questions with bots. But remember again that this package is really only useful when there's a user at the computer who can answer the prompt. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. For more RPA training, check out the next video here, or watch everything in order right here. Subscribe to my channel for updates on new content, and become a patron to get access to personalized RPA support. But until next time, I'm Jordan at Afterburner Automation, and I hope this helps you build better bots.